So my son was riding his bike over to a friend's house, and he said it just shut off, just quit running. So we loaded it up, brought it home, and the first thing I do is check and see to try and narrow it down as to whether you have a fuel issue or a spark issue. I get some starting fluid. You could even use gas on a rag and spray the starting fluid on the air filter and kick the bike over a few times. If it starts at all, if it does anything and just runs for a couple seconds, then now you know you're dealing with a fuel issue, and that your ignition system should be fine. Because if you're feeding fuel into it, so it's going to start. His bike did not. So the next thing we did is disconnect the kill button switch at the coil, just in case the switch was bad and causing a ground or something. Still nothing. And then you can get these at Harbor Freight. They make it really nice to test. So this end goes on your spark plug, and this end goes in your coil, and you kick it over or crank it over, whatever you got, and it'll light up. And so we did that, and we got nothing. So because if you spray the ether in there and it doesn't start, it could still be bad, just a bad spark plug. So this is a good way to check to see if you're getting anything out of your coil. We were not. So we pulled the coil off and tested it. Everything checked out really good. Rocky Mountain MC has a video on testing coils, and it's a really good video, so I'm not even going to go into it. Just go to Rocky Mountain and find theirs. It'll explain everything on how to test that. So after that, the next thing I did was go into now it's off the bike now, but this is your stator, and you'll find two wires that are the same color, and they're usually yellow. So you put your meter on those and kick it over, crank it over, and see if you're getting any power coming through these. We were. Another thing you could do is just a continuity test and see if you have any resistance. If you have the book, it should tell you what the resistance should be. We did not, but if you test on this and you don't have any resistance at all, it's an open circuit, it's definitely bad. These can be tricky along with the coils, because if you have an intermittent problem, or say like the bike runs fine and then when it gets hot it quits running, it could be your coil for your spark plug, it could be your stator, it could be other things as well. But the problem is that when electrical parts build up heat, they build up resistance, and if you have an open circuit somewhere in there, that's even worse. So once it heats up, the open circuit shows up, and then when it cools off, it reconnects. So stators and coils can be trickier than what you think, but again, his checked out fine. So, and we weren't having an issue of it running hot and then shutting down. It wouldn't run at all, which is much easier to deal with. So the next test to do is right here. They call this a pickup coil. I call it a crank position sensor. And you can do this with it on the bike as well. On this particular bike, and a lot of the bikes, you're going to find a green and red wire, and they're both going to be coming out with the stator wire typically. You could check continuity on these. So if you have continuity, that's good. If you don't, it's obviously bad. On his, there was no continuity. It was completely dead. Another thing you can do, and I have the old one here, is you take your volt ohm meter and you put it on here, and you set your volt ohm meter on AC current, and you pass a bolt or a piece of metal in front of this and see if you get any AC current. You got to wave it back and forth like that, and you'll get some AC current. If you do, this isn't your problem. Again, we got nothing. So I went online to KTM, and KTM only sells this complete coil and the pickup unit together for $230. I'm guessing the reason they do that is because they don't want you to disrupt the watertight seal here. Really, it's not that difficult. You can put some lube on these wires and pull them through here, and then push the new ones back through. And that's what we did. And so we fished the wires all the way back through, and we just got the pickup coil. So that's what we did. We just fished the wire through here, and we got this coil. Now I looked online, and you could find this coil for 15 to 20 bucks online all day long. The only problem was, and I'm sure it would have been fine, was I couldn't find one that specifically said it was good for this bike. This bike's kind of an oddball. It's a 2011 250 SXF, and I think it was probably the first year that they had the fuel injection with the kickstart. So it's kind of an oddball. So I went on to Ricky Stator, and I couldn't find the pickup coil there either, but I gave them a call and they were very helpful, and he sent me a link for this pickup coil. That's what they call it. And so I got that from him. It was a little over 50 bucks. By the time it was all done, it was like 70 bucks with shipping and tax. And so we put that in there, and I just got to get some heat shrink tubing, and I'd like to put the original terminals on and use those, the connectors, but if we have to, we can just use bullet connectors on it and it'll be fine. But I'd like to keep it all original the best I can. So we'll see. We'll get this all buttoned up and see what happens. So just so you can get a look at this, I don't know how good you're gonna be able to see this, but these little bumps here, that's what that pickup is sensing. When these come by, and after so many go by, it knows it's time to send a spark. And if that's not working, then you get no spark. So no big deal taking this cover off. There's a gasket there and that little rubber seal. A little bit of oil is going to come out. I mean, we didn't lose that much oil. And you don't even have to mess with this. When you go to take this off, this cover, you're going to be fighting the magnets. So even though you got all the bolts out, it's going to feel like it doesn't want to come off. So you gotta kind of pull hard to get that thing out of there. But yeah, so we're going to throw this thing all back together and see what happens. Okay, so my son, sorry it's kind of dark now, but my son went ahead and put this all together. And you can see he did a nice job with the wiring. It's all through the factory sleeve. And right up here, heat shrink the connections, and everything went really well. So we're about ready to get the fuel tank on and see if she'll run and go from there. We got a few more things to put back on and then we'll be done. Alright, so we got it pretty much back together. We decided not to start it up last night because it was pretty late by the time we got there, so we're going to try and start it up now and see how it sounds, if it sounds. So there you go. So you can get that, what they call a pickup coil from Ricky Stator. I think it was like 70 bucks with shipping and everything. But I'm pretty sure I found the very same thing online, I think on Amazon or something, for 20 bucks. But like I said, it wasn't specific to this bike, and so it kind of made me nervous. And the guy over at Ricky Stator was very helpful. And although I couldn't find it on his website, it he found it, and he sent me the link to it. So if you have any questions, you can give them a call and talk to Ricky Stater, and they can help you out with this type of stuff. So alright, well, I hope you guys liked the video. Click the like button, subscribe, and go hit the trails.